What's she doing? You like the water, Bubby? Little Stinky? Well, I found out I have a water dog. She loves the water. She likes to pick up the rocks with her teeth, like a crazy animal. She sometimes chases her own foot splashes, like she's gonna catch them. And yeah, got a pretty sweet hammock spot. Started filming Charlie, but I'll think about trying to tell the story about getting stolen from in San Antonio. So yeah, with the Frio River right now, just hanging out on the hammock. We're camping. There's no cell service, so we haven't really been on the phone very much, but yeah, so when I pulled into my Airbnb driving through San Antonio, it's a big downtown area. We'll try and make this as quick as possible, but it's a pretty detailed story. So when I first pulled up, it was the evening, and it was so hot it felt like I was just pulling into hell. It was like 98 degrees and like 60% humidity at like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and then we went for a bike ride, and I didn't know how I felt because like I'd already seen like a homeless person walk by the neighborhood. He was pushing his cart, and I don't think he knew I was associated with the Jeep, but I saw him take like a double glance at it, like look at it again really quick, and that probably should have been like my first red flag, but I still kind of had like a wall up as far as how safe I felt in the area, just because of what I saw right when I was there. But yeah, we cruised through downtown. We got to downtown on our bike in about 5-10 minutes, and it was really dark. The lighting just kind of felt weird, like it was pretty dark. I don't know what I'm trying to describe, but yeah, we rode through downtown, saw the Riverwalk, and I went into this like nice convenience store, and these people were super nice and told me about what to do the next day, and I kind of felt a little better as far as like my surroundings went. So I dropped my guard a little bit, and then first night in the Airbnb was fine, and then the next day we had a list of things to do. We went to see went to the Pearl, we went to Blue Water, which are all little like a shopping center, but it's got all these different, like some places have coffee and beer and breweries, and at the Pearl it was more of like a historic landmark, and it's got a really nice hotel called the Emma Hotel Emma, I think. But yeah, that night, after all that, we came back to the Airbnb. It was our last night there, and I parked my Jeep right on the street, right in front of the Airbnb's bedroom. And I've got like a lot of stuff. My whole life is in the Jeep, which is kind of a scary thought in itself, but it's kind of part of having life on the road. It's kind of part of it. But after we got home, I locked up everything, locked the doors, locked the tailgate, locked the bike down. And then if you saw the previous video, I had what I use as a trash bag. It's made by Blue Ridge Overland Gear, and there's Charlie still playing in the river. Oh, give you a quick view. But yeah, we were right next to some train tracks, and every night for about like, I saw it 2 minutes straight, the train horn would be like blaring, and the rumbling of the train coming through the area would just shake the whole house. And I thought I heard some stuff out of the Jeep, and I looked out the window and it was like pitch black, so I couldn't really see anything, but I was staring to check for any movement and I couldn't see anything. I don't know if that's when it was going on, but the next morning someone was knocking at the door, and it was a construction guy. They were doing construction on the street, and he asked me to move my Jeep. And I go out there and I look, and my bike is like leaning outwards from the spare where it's mounted, and the storage bag is gone. So I was like, shit, someone jacked my storage bag, and that my bike would have been gone too if I didn't lock it up. Water, bubby? You all done? Yeah, shake it off, girl. You coming? Come up. Oh yeah, she's ready for a nap. Anywho. We'll let her get settled. Anywho, I went back inside, and the Airbnb host, she was awake, so I was like, yeah, so it looks like I got stolen from, and wondering if she had any information as far as like where the homeless people hang out, because I was like, fuck that, I'm gonna go find who stole my shit. But she's like, yeah, there's actually like this little monument directly behind my house across the train tracks that we're trying to get rid of as a community, but they won't because it's like a historical landmark. And it's literally just a cement walled little 8x8 square where she says all the homeless people, they'll steal stuff, and when they find out it doesn't have any value, they'll dump it in there. So I immediately went there, looked in that area, and it was all overgrown, and there was shit everywhere, a bunch of junk. My bag wasn't in there. And then I walked like the paths that led away from there, and it led to someone's backyard, which was full of junk. Like, if you ever seen like a hoarder of trash, that's what it looked like. And I was walking along the side yard of that house. I thought it was just abandoned, but there was this guy who was eating a cup of ramen noodles at like 9 in the morning. And you could tell his clothes weren't clean, he probably hadn't showered in a long time. And the day before, I had drove by there and I recognized him because he was out there with like a leather studded vest, a hat, and he was practicing nunchucks at like the hottest part of the day, like a psychopath. But that was him, and I was talking to him, and I didn't know how to approach or ask like, hey, did you see somebody with a bag or anything? But we talked for a little bit. You could tell he kind of has like mental health problems, but he had a house to live in. And when I left, he's like, yeah, they call me lunatic. So he was a little crazy, but as I was walking away, I was like, this guy probably knows like the homeless people around here, and it's less than a rock's throw away from the house I stood at. So I walked back up to him, I'm like, hey, maybe you can help me out. And he, as soon as I asked him about like someone stole something off the back of my Jeep, his whole like demeanor kind of changed up. He went to somewhat not defensive, but you could just tell something flipped in him. And he was like, yeah, man, sometimes I buy stolen goods and they end up here sometimes. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe you saw this. And I showed him a picture of what I was looking for. And he's like, no, man, I don't know. I haven't seen that or heard of that. And I was like, okay, kind of like giving up on it. And then he's walking back towards his Porsche, and he's like, do you want to come look in here? And I was like, not real sure what to reply, because it was like pretty rough on the outside house, and I didn't know what to expect, and I kind of like ignored it. And he's like, all right, saying his goodbyes, and I was like, you know what, I'll take you up on it. I'll head in there. He's like, well, what do you got? You got some money? What can you pay me so I can let you come look in here? And then I didn't say anything. He's like, how about food? You got some food? And I was like, yeah, I'll give you some food if you let me look in there. And he looks, there's a big tree in the front yard, and he looks up to the tree. He's like, all right, man, I'm letting him in. Like there was a camera up there or something. I guarantee you there wasn't. He was kind of had some screws loose. And I always carry a knife with me. But he had me like lift up my shirt to make sure I didn't have like a gun going in the house. I didn't know what to expect, what was in there, but I show him my shit and he didn't see my knife. So I was just determined to find this storage trash bag that I use. It's a vital part of keeping stuff out of the rig, like if it stinks. But I go in, the first thing I see is this tiny little living room, and it was like out of a movie, like a TV show that portrays like a trap house or like a drug house. It looked like one. And on each couch, on either side of the living room, there was two men passed out. They were covered in blankets. You could tell they weren't going to wake up from any kind of sound that went on. And then as I'm walking through, he's giving me a tour of his house, and he's like all proud. Seemed like proud of what was going on, but it was just trash piled on trash everywhere. And then he shows me his room, and I'm looking every corner looking for my bag. And in the back rooms, there was like a girl in one room and a girl in another room. I didn't go in there, but the door was cracked open, so I saw she was awake and moving. Who knows if it was in there or not, but I couldn't find it. And I was just like, I was just trying to be aware as possible, just in case something sketchy happened. You never know what was going on. But he shows me the backyard. He's like, yeah, take a look. Ended up not being in there, but I was in a legit trap house like I have never seen in my life. And so surprising, from what it looked like, it didn't stink. Like, I've got a pretty sensitive nose, and it didn't, like, I was surprised it didn't stink as bad as it looked. But yeah, so I spent for a total like 3 hours just trying to like follow homeless people. I went to the park to see if anybody had my bag, and it wasn't there. I finally gave up on it. But as I promised him, I told him I'd bring him some food, and I thought to myself, maybe it was there and they're hiding it, but I felt kind of stupid, like I'm giving food to people who might have potentially stole my bag. But it looked like he was just trying to be honest, and he started talking to me about like morals and shit about it. I mean, he was all over the place. The guy was crazy. People call him freaking lunatic. His name's Rick. So if you're ever in downtown San Antonio area and you see a guy practicing nunchucks, that's Lunatic, aka Rick. And yeah, I took him some perfect food bars and some watermelon peach smoothie that I had made, because he was a man of his word and let me walk around and check his house to see if anything was in there, and I told him I'd give him food, so I did. Yeah, and that, besides that, San Antonio was pretty cool. I didn't find my bag. I gave up on it. Had some good coffee, and then we headed out towards the Frio River. Yeah, so if you're into beer at all, I went to Blue Water Brewery. Super cool people there. And I met this bartender, and she told me about this area that I'm in, and this is how we ended up here. And they had some really good beer. I had a extra pale ale, which is like a hoppy pale ale, and then I had this peach sour, which was really good. I was a pretty big beer nerd for about 5 or 7 years of my life, and it's nice having a good craft beer every once in a while. But besides that, yeah, now we're in the Frio River. We've been here for a full day. We're leaving tomorrow morning. I don't know where we're headed, but yeah, this ended up being a YouTube video, and if you enjoy following along with the story, don't forget, I would appreciate, not don't forget, I would appreciate if you liked, commented, and subscribed. We'll get back to you with another video. We're just chilling. We're both tired. It's been hot as hell here. We've been riding our bike around camp, found some good camping. And yeah, this water, I wish it was a little colder, but it's nice to get in. We're gonna probably take a nap here and go back to camp, make some food, go to sleep. Thanks for tuning in. Later.